Welcome back to Satisfactory. As always, I'm focusing each of the episode on one or two specific resources, so don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see the full playlist, if you want to see previous episode. For example, in the last one, we focused on a coal power station, infinite power with coal, that was great, and we also made a small factory to automate the last resource from tier 2 we didn't have, which is those modular frames over here. So now in this episode, we'll be able to move and do all of the tier 3 milestone, in particular so that we can build our first steel factory to make steel pipe and steel beam. So that's going to be quite important. We'll also do a couple of other things. For example, we're going to look at our first hard drive. I'm keen to see what we're going to get with it. We're going to get a better weapon. We're going to start feeding things into the elevator and much more. So let's dive right in. So yes, we have 3 more milestones to do in tier 3, vehicle transport, basic steel production, and improve melee combat. We're going to do all 3, starting with basic steel 1. We have already delivered, the 150 rotors, 300 concrete, 1000 wires. We're just missing 50 modular frames. So let's go get them over here. We have made more than 50. Actually, let me take everything because I'm sure we're gonna need more for the other ones too. And deliver it. Launch the pod. Yeah, it's going. And with this, we have unlocked a couple of new things. We have unlocked, for example, the foundry, where we're gonna have not just one input, but also 2 input, contrary to the smelter. For example, to make our ingots of steel, we're gonna want iron and coal at the same time. So we're gonna talk about this for sure very soon. But we've also unlocked a few other new productions, right? In particular, over here you can see steel beams and steel pipes. This is going to use the steel ingots, of course. Last but not least, in the assembler, we have now the versatile framework, which is the second resource for a space elevator, right? It's gonna take some modular frame and steel beams, so we're not ready to get started to it. We'll probably do this in the next episode. Speaking about the space elevator, you can see I've actually fed all 500 of those smart plating to it, and we've actually automated it. I mean, it is probably the most ugliest thing I've ever done in my life, but yeah, we have, the storage over here, and then we have this elevator, this Mark 1 conveyor belt, because it's obviously not a lot, another elevator, and it goes and it's fed directly into the elevator. So I didn't transport any manually, but they're all transported now on their own. So that's done for the first one. So now let's move to our second objective, the first hard drive. We put a hard drive in the MAM in the last episode. It took 10 minutes and now we have 3 new recipes. Right? It is new ways to make resources. For example, wires. Usually you would use copper, right? Now you can have an alternate recipe where you can make wires with iron. That can be quite useful. Or here we can make more crystal by adding a bit of water to the raw crystal. And last but not least, we have the bolt-in iron plate, which is basically the normal recipe. It's still iron plates and screws to make those reinforced iron plates, but basically it's a number that's changed. With this recipe, you're basically making 3 times more iron plates than in the basic one. You can see over here, the basic one is 6 to make 1. Now it's 18 to make 3. So basically with one assembler, you can make a lot more. So it's good for your electricity, but it's actually not so good in terms of efficiency of resource, because while for the iron plate, you're actually using 3 times more to make 3 times more. So it's good. For the screws, it's actually you're using more than 3 times, almost, it's actually more than 4 times the screws to make only 3 times the iron plates. So it's not that great, but to be honest, I don't love any of this right now. I don't really need a lot more quartz crystal at this moment. I have enough copper, so it is an interesting one. I do think I'm gonna choose this one. Maybe we don't have to have a copper mine when we don't want to make wire, and we can just have everything iron. But I do hope my next hard drive is gonna be more interesting. And speaking of next hard drive, there is actually one just there. It is really, really close, so let me show you over here. It's just below. The only thing is it's actually quite protected, right? There's a big monster there. There's this one over here. So before we get to it, and again, to get to it, it wouldn't be that hard, especially from my platform over here, to just put a foundation ramp like this. We're gonna and you zoop and you get to it. But yeah, before we do this, let's actually unlock hopefully a better weapon. So we need to deliver 100 reinforced iron plate, 200 cables and 1500 wires, and done. And with this we have added one more hand slot, more inventory slots, 3 to be precise, but more importantly we have unlocked the Xeno Basher, which is a lot better than our meager Xeno Zapper. So let's actually try to build one. So to build one we need 2 Xeno Zappers, so let's build one more. Done. And now we can build a Xeno Basher. And I'll show you in a second what it means. Basically putting it into my inventory, right? It is basically a sword. So instead of just having a very small range, now I have a bigger range when I attack things, and at the same time it is also stronger. So let's use this over here. Yep. Let's fight. Done. Okay. Now there was also another monster. Where are you, monster? He's hiding somewhere on the ground. Where is he? Oh, yeah. Scared me. Scared me. He's launching balls of fires at me. But yeah, now we've killed it. Gone. Let's see if there's some good resources over here. No resources there. They're all somewhere else. That's a shame. That's a shame. And again, even if you're not flying, that's not really a problem. Just zoop like this and you can go back up. Okay. So where is this? Here. Pod. We're gonna need one rotor, but we also need some electricity. Now, in this case, it's really not a lot of electricity, so what I suggest is you don't even need to connect it to your main base. Just place a biomass burner, put some biofuel into it, and then a power line that's connecting directly to it, and well, we can open it. Done. One more hard drive to put into MAM, and then we can delete this easily. Delete all of this for now, or you can leave it. I mean, it's not a problem. And hopefully this time we'll get a better recipe. And last but not least, for tier 3, we can unlock the tractors with the truck station. Now, we're not going to play with them in this episode, but for sure I will explain in the future, and don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any specific questions about tractors, trucks, how they work, because again, I will definitely show that in the future. But let's unlock it. Deliver those resources needed. We need a bit more of iron rods, and done. So we have unlocked everything in tier 3. So let's complete a couple of those objectives. Right. So we have completed a couple of those objectives. First hard drive, tier 3, and better weapon. Now the most important thing for this episode is let's build a steel pipe and beam factory. Now you may be wondering where we're gonna do it, because we've actually used all of the iron that over here, all of the coal that over there, right? So we're gonna start moving a bit further away. We're gonna move towards this side, which really isn't that far, to be honest, in satisfactory terms. Because if you look over here at the interactive map on the calculator, we've basically used those resources over here. But there's quite a few there. In particular, there's a lot of coal, 4 coal normal nodes. There's also 1 pure iron, so we'll be able to leverage this in the future too. Concretely, again, with my base being over here, this is not that side, it is this side, towards where we have, our power station. It's actually just there. We're gonna be there in a second. And again, right now I'm flying. You could definitely just zoop a foundation to get all the way over here. We have 1 iron there. We have 4 coal, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have the iron on top of here. There's again more beasts, so make sure that you have your weapon. Make sure you maybe have something to heal yourself. But yeah, you can go here, and this is where we're gonna build a base. So see you when I've made a bit of progress. And it is, ladies and gents, a few minutes have passed. This copper ore is still there, but a lot of things have changed behind me. The iron node is taken over by a miner, and this whole place has a functional factory. as with the previous episode, I just want to show you basically the basic functional factory that doesn't really have walls or anything like this, but is working. And then I'll show it to you after we make it pretty. Before we dive into it though, you can see that I've also built basically a bridge all the way through my city, right? We have over here the coal mine. I have a small bridge to go to the coal mine, and then, the bridge all the way up to my base. So we can take that in the future. In the future, we'll also make, way better, way bigger roads for vehicles, trains, and all of this with blueprints. But to get us started, that was pretty good. This also enabled me to bring electricity, right? You can see the poles over here, bringing electricity. So then going a bit into the factory, we have a miner Mark 1 on the pure iron rod, so that's 120, right? And then below, at the bottom, we have 2 coal. Both of these are obviously miner Mark 1s because we haven't unlocked the Mark 2 yet. And they are both also normal, so it's 60 and 60. So basically we have the same amount of coal than iron, 120. So we have this belt over here and that belt there, then 2 elevators, each bringing 60. They are both arriving into those 2 elevators, being merged, and then go into that belt over here, Mark 2 obviously, right, because that's 120. And then we're gonna start to have, elevators to go back up. This is what I call a logistic floor. This is usually one of those floors where you're probably not walking around, right? Maybe you're walking on the side, but not really inside. And this is going to be hiding all of the belts, because if you look over here where I have my machines, there is actually 0 belt. There's a lot of elevators, but there's 0 belt. So that's pretty cool. Now we're gonna have 3 foundries because each of them is 45. So the first one is gonna be 100%, 45. The second also 45. The third is not gonna be 45, it's only 30, right? Because we're talking about 120 in total. So that's 90 plus 30. Now we have 2 inputs for each, right? We have the iron and the coal. So you see 2 elevators, and if we go back to my floor, this is also what you're gonna see. There is each 2 elevators, 2 elevators, 2 elevators, 2 elevators. But I've done something that I feel is a bit smart. Instead of having both elevators on the same way, for example on this side, I have one on this side, one on that side. This way, this is my belt for coal. So basically the first elevator of each, right, is coal. And then on the other side, we have the iron. Right? The iron is coming from there, go all the way over here. And then it goes on the other side where we have number 1, 2, and 3. So this way, there's no mixing, and you can have a very low roof because you don't need to have, mergers or splitters that are higher level. And then on the other side, we have all of the ingots, steel ingots that are coming out on this belt, being merged, and then we're gonna start splitting them. Now what I've done over here is not a 100% efficiency factory. What I've done is I have 2 of each. 2 for the steel pipe, right? You can see those 2 over here, and then 2 for the steel beams. Now the reality is this will take more than 120 because this is 30 and 30, so we are at 60 already, right? And then this one is already 60, so that is 120, but you have another 60, right? But the reason I'm doing this is because at some point this will get full, and when this is full, then I want to make sure that this produces a lot. Because this way, as soon as I take a bit of steel pipe or take a bit of steel beams from the storage, I know that it's going to be working a bit quicker to make it full. So that's why I put 2 and 2 instead of basically 2 and 1 would have been a perfect factory. But given that this one is only making 15 per minute, I really wanted to have 2 versus this one is making already 20, so it's already a bit higher. So yeah, anyway, that is why you can see obviously we have 1 input, 1 output. Same over here, 1 input, 1 output. So going into the belt over here, you can see this is the input where we have all of the ingots coming, and then they go around this side to go to the second set of constructors, right? And go again to the inputs. And then for both we have the outputs. Outputs for the steel pipes are over here, and outputs for the steel beams are over here. Then they go on those 2 belts, through those 2 holes to go into 2 containers, and then later we can put a sign on them, right? We're gonna have doors and all those type of things. But as I said, this is the functional factory. It works quite well to make us a lot of steel pipes and a lot of steel beams. Don't hesitate to tell me, of course, in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests. But yeah, that's the basic one. So now I'll show you, of course, what is the advanced one. But before, I wanted to show you that I actually discovered and added a new objective to our episode, the mycelia. Because if you look over here in my inventory, I have these new resources, the mycelia, which was basically, at the bottom over here when I was clearing the space to put my foundation and things like this. There are some of those trees like this one. It cannot be taken with E, and when you destroy it with your saw, it gives us a bit of wood, leaves, etc., but also some mycelia most of the time. Actually, these ones are not. Why? I mean, these ones will. I know it. And here it is, 4 mycelia. So let's go back to our base so that we can see what this mycelia is all about. And we can actually follow my new bridge to show you that I'm not lying. You know, I can go back all the way to my city. I see there's a missing ramp there. So let's copy it and put it done. So let's sprint. Oh, we have arrived, but I feel like I need some water now. So we are at the MAM, and before we can do the mycelia, you may remember we had a second hard drive, and we have now some new interesting recipes. 2 that are linked to the caterium ingots. 1 to actually make wires out of this caterium, and it's actually quite a lot, because you can see with 1 ingot we're gonna make 8, so 120 per minute. Versus our normal one from the copper was only 30. Then we have over here a better quick wire recipe, right? Where instead of 60, we're gonna make 90, but it's gonna use a lot of copper on top. And then last but not least, we have steel rods. Similarly, instead of, making only 15 per minute through the iron, now we're gonna make 48 per minute through steel. So it's better, but it does require also more coal. So I think all in all, while I already have 2 recipes for the wire, I actually think this one is pretty amazing. Because this is a huge increase in how to make, wires. And I do know we're gonna need a lot of wire in the future. So I think we're gonna take that one. And then, as I said, we have the mycelia over here. We don't actually have that much, but we can do the first one at least. And with this, we unlock a couple of new ones. In particular, we'll be able to do fabric in the future, which will be important. I do need to find 25 mycelia, so we'll do this. On this side over here, we also need 25, and we also need some stators, so we're not ready for this. And then finally, the gas nobelisks. I mean, we don't even have the normal nobelisks, so that's gonna take a bit of time. But yeah, important to continue, researching in the MAM as much as possible when we can. Okay, we're back. Coal factory is still working, it's gonna work forever. But we also have a new steel factory in the background that's pretty much done. Obviously, as always, I'd love any thoughts, feedback that you may have. But yeah, let me show you around. First of all, by the way, my bridge is now supported by some pillars. Yeah, I didn't want it to start falling. There's also some colors, we have some purple bluish over here. We have some walls and pillars and some glass, of course. I didn't put the storage container encased in anything. They're still like this. Do tell me if you hate it. I feel like it's quite nice. And as planned, this one is full. So now this one is working a lot better, at 100%. Now here it is. That's the factory. So basically, as I initially said, we have at the bottom the logistic floor where you're not really supposed to walk around. But if you want, you can. There is definitely some windows so we can see what's happening high level. But more importantly, you're supposed to take the stairs to go up. And here I didn't actually close it. I wanted to do something a bit different to keep it open like this. There is, of course, some industrial rails so we don't fall. But yeah, I keep it pretty clean like this. And what's most important is more kind of the bottom, you know. If we take those stairs over here, we can start going really down, because here, you know, we have a big stair where we can go back into, you know, our logistic floor over here. There's of course some doors pretty much everywhere, but more importantly, we can continue to go down and down and down we go. Down we go. Even at night, you know, it's not too bad because there's really a lot of windows. But now we're getting to the bottom, right? We are very, very far down, and we get to coal, right? We have our coal in case miner. There's obviously a door there. And over here we also have our 2 elevators that are going up with the coal. That's also where my electricity is going, right? And if we go all the way over here, this is the end where we have the second coal miner. This one is also out there. There's some stairs to go and get this birdie. You got scared, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is the back of the factory. Here is where the coal is going, right? And then goes up all the way into a floor. That's the stairs over here, and then let's go a bit around again. As I said, quite a bit of windows, a mix of different shapes and forms. For me, it was kind of important to have windows on the logistic floors, because while I don't want to go inside and walk around, it's important to be able to see that it's moving, you know, see any problems. Then over here, right, we have also a good view of the miner. Couple of steel pillars to make sure that, you know, this whole thing is supported. So all in all, I basically try to do quite a different style than this one over here, but still show you, you know, the different types of things you can do. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, you know, what do you like, what do you hate, what do you want to see in the future? But that's a steel pipe and beam factory done. And so while in this episode we did all of tier 3, I think with this we can do most of tier 4 in the next episode, maybe all of tier 4 in the next episode. This will actually include getting miner Mark II and conveyors Mark III, so that's really important. Please smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.